Hello and welcome to Anatomy of Us. I'm your host, Melanie Studley.
What's up, guys? My name is Seth Studley. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist. Welcome to the show. Thank you so much, you guys. It's good to be back. And I wanted to... This is part 2 of Adult Children of Alcoholics, which we're going to continue some tenets to identify yourself or others you love as an adult child of an alcoholic and see how you can change your life and get some clarity on some stuff. So we're going to talk about adult children of alcoholics. If you haven't heard part 1 of this episode, you got to go back to get some context of what we're talking about. And we are talking about Adult Children of Alcoholics, written by Janet Geringer Woititz. And she has written extensively on the concept of adult children of alcoholics, its effects, how to heal from that, and how to move forward, which I have found so amazing. In fact, this is one of my best books of 2023. Mm-hmm. It's awesome.
Why don't you just start in on the bullet points, like where we left off last time?
Okay, so quickly, I'm talking about 13 tenets, and I'm going to refer to adult children of alcoholics as adult children or ACOAs. So ACOAs, guess at what normal behavior is. They have difficulty following a project through from beginning to end. They lie when it would be just as easy to tell the truth. They judge themselves without mercy. They have difficulty having fun. They take themselves very seriously. They have difficulty with intimate relationships. That one may ring true for you guys. And ACOAs overreact to changes over which they have no control, and for very good reason. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we have 5 more points.
And if you want to learn more about any of the ones that we just said, go back and listen to the first episode if you haven't yet.
Yeah, that's right. So what do you think about this? Like, we're talking about this and like some of its implications. What have you learned in this? Like, has it been kind of eye-opening for you at all?
Yeah. So when I found her, like I said on the last episode, had a conversation with my friend who is a pediatrician, and she was talking about having to learn about this stuff for her work as a doctor, right? And she just said to me, like, just know that when you're, in conflict with Seth, he has a lot of these tendencies, right? So it then made me go, I should Google this. I should learn more about like high ACE scores, which again is adverse childhood experiences and adult children of alcoholics, like all that stuff. So I went in and started researching it, found her initial YouTube talk from 1983, like the year I was born, which is crazy.
She has a very relaxing voice.
I know, she's so funny. Like her vibe is really funny.
Her demeanor was just like, all right, I can sit here.
And so when I started watching it, and then I watched 2 talks that she did, and then we got the books, and I shared it with you, and you started watching it. It changed how I perceived you.
Oh, yeah.
If that makes sense. And it was...
How so?
I think because it took it from being like, this is a behavior that Seth does. This is how I used to think about it. This is a behavior, these behaviors that Seth do. He knows about them. He should be able to fix them. He just is being stubborn, or he doesn't care enough to fix them, or... he doesn't love me enough to fix them. So that was sort of my subconscious thoughts about it. And after watching her talks and then reading her books, I was like, oh no, this is like a wiring problem. Not a problem. Let me rephrase that. This is like a wiring issue. It's like
a wiring experience, right?
Maybe.
If you think about like any kind of context of things like this, it goes back to what I say all the time. A couple of things. Most people do the best they can with what they have when they have it, right? Unless you are a real psychopath, right? Yeah. And then the other point, can I ask the question, can all you married couples ask the question, through a conflict or whatever, can you ask of your spouse, like just ask it rhetorically, did they do this on purpose? Hopefully the answer is no. Do they love me? Hopefully you can answer yes to that. Do they want the best for me and this relationship? And hopefully the answer is that, right? So if the answer are no, yes, then you can go, okay, that makes a lot of sense to me. I have to think the best of them. They're not just a crazy idiot.
Right.
Unless you answer, did they do this on purpose? Yeah, they did to honestly hurt me.
Yeah.
Then you might have larger issues.
Well, and the way that I want to say it again too is like when I started reading this book and watching her talks and stuff, I know that this is not how cars work, but I'm going to use this funny analogy that's popping into my head, and it's very funny to me.
Like the Flintstones with feet?
No. So like I'm imagining in my van that if it was wired incorrectly, that I went to like push the air conditioning button on and it turned my hazard lights on. And so I was like, okay, well that's not the air conditioning. And so then I'm like, well, maybe if I push the hazard button, the air conditioning, but I push the hazard button and the vents start blowing, but it's hot. And it's almost like every button does a thing that I don't think it's going to do.
Right.
And I can't make sense of it. But I'm like, this one is labeled hazard lights. Like it should turn the hazard lights on, but it keeps like making the wipers on the back
It's
go.
like our dog Zinga.
Well, hold on. But why that's confusing is that before I was like, well, he knows that if I say this, he should act this way. Now I'm like, oh, he actually doesn't. Like the hazard light button turns on the wipers. It doesn't turn on the hazard lights.
Well, it's not like that. It's like you say something, I go, whoop, nope, wrong.
No,
Not to that extent.
I'm telling you, you asked me for my opinion, and that is how it feels. Before I was like,
that's how it felt. Okay.
Yeah, I'm like, you know the right thing to do, but you're choosing not to do it.
Right.
But now I'm like, oh no, like there's actually miswiring happening. And each time I push the button that says wipers and something else happens, I used to get mad at you. But now I'm like, oh, it's just like a wiring issue. But now I don't even need to be mad at anybody.
The Bible talks about that. Paul says we do what we don't want to do, and we don't want to do what we do.
The Bible's like, push the wiper button and the hazards will go.
Yeah, in the 2006 Town and Country, Paul was referring to that. He's
and
like, the
stone
wheels, man.
It's so weird.
I know. I don't know. 2,000 years later, we still can't figure out the problem. Right. And it's like Zinga. She barks at like sonic sound bark, but she'll be smiling and wagging her tail. She can't. She doesn't know what to do. And she I don't think you could beat it out of her.
No, you
right?
couldn't
You couldn't do anything
yeah,
to get that out of her. She just does it.
She can't turn it off.
There could be a villain intruder with an AK-47, and she would bark the same at that person as if we were bringing up, a treat to her, and she was just excited. Right?
It's a really weird noise.
Yeah, I know. I tried to do it higher like her, but it's impossible.
It is impossible.
All right, you guys. So back to part 2 of Adult Children of Alcoholics. So you heard where we left off, and we're going to dive right back into this next one. Adult children of alcoholics constantly seek approval and affirmation. So this one is also known as codependency, not being differentiated. We talk about this all the time on the show. Being autonomous, not knowing for yourself that you're doing a good job, that you are enough, that you are worthy, that you are a good enough person, right? So ACOAs constantly seek approval and affirmation. Now, based on your understanding of ACOAs so far, why do you think that is? Not in context of our relationship, but why do you think that ACOAs constantly seek approval and affirmation?
If you grew up in a household that lacked some pretty just like standard healthy things, you probably did not hear things like, hey, you're doing a really great job, or hey, I can help you with your homework. No worries. Like you didn't hear this loving, supporting language. And so you were always guessing, do they love me? Well, when they get mad at me, when mom's drunk, she says, I'm so stupid. And if I wasn't so stupid, she wouldn't be drinking. Right. So they have this like, it's like a hole of, I don't know, like, am I good enough? Maybe I'm not. Sometimes when she's this, I am not, blah, blah, blah.
So this can be a couple of different reasons. Either you never heard it growing up, right? You didn't hear it. Well, it could be 3 different reasons, honestly, and just follow me here. You never heard that growing up. You maybe saw it on TV. You saw your friends talk about it. You'd go over to your friend's house and, the dad would say, oh, sweetheart, you're so nice and your hair looks so cute or whatever, right? You saw it out in the world, but you never received it, right? So then you grow up going, I don't know, what's going on? Am I okay? Am I not okay? Is it this or is it that? And you seek that, right? Which can be very taxing on intimate relationships, right? Which can be very taxing in a work environment. Hey, did I do a good job? Is this on, you know what I'm saying? Okay, so number 2, either you heard it and then it was complete opposite 2 hours later, right? In episode number 1, I talked about, difficulty following a project through in the context of when mom has a couple of 3 beers or something like that. She's in a super good mood. Hey, we're going to go to the go-kart track. 2 hours later, when she's more drunk and tired and passed out, she yells at you for saying, hey, aren't we going to go to the go-kart track, right? So you get these mixed messages of, oh, in good times, when my baby's in the money, treats me right. Like that, right? In the good times, you hear all these nice things,
Right.
these adulations that your parents are giving you and all this stuff. Oh, you're so smart. I'm proud of you. Good job. You're so strong. You're a
Right.
big guy, you know? And then 2, 3, 4 hours later, you spill
Like,
milk at
you
the dinner
didn't
table.
change, yeah.
What the what? You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And so you're like, I don't know what is up. I don't know what is down. I don't know if I'm good. I don't know if I'm a piece of garbage.
Super conditional.
Super conditional,
And
right?
then on conditions that you don't understand as a kid.
Right. Or the third one, you heard it all the time. Just all the time. Maybe your parents were like a super happy drunk or
Right.
something, or just doting and this and that and that. And then like you grew up and go, wait a minute, this isn't how the real world works. I'm not perfect, right? So then you're not accustomed to like failure, or like if a boss says something
Yeah.
weird at work and say, hey, you didn't do a good job, then you just fall apart, right? So you're always seeking something. You never had the groundwork, the foundation of learning it from someone who knew it, right? And I think
Or
of it,
who could even practice it.
or
yeah.
who could practice it, right? I think of, so our neighbor is a chemist, right? He knows every chemistry thing known to man, ions,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
Up and down to like an obsessive level. He is a master at that. He could teach me everything that I needed to know. And then because I'm confident in his ability, guess what? Even if I know a small fraction of what
Right.
he knows, will I be confident in what I learned from him? Yeah. So then I could go out in the world, maybe teach,
Right.
maybe work at a thing, or be an engineer, chemical engineer, or whatever, right? So think about it. If he knew jack about that, but I went to him for that, I would be quite insecure about my knowledge of chemistry.
Right.
Right?
Right.
So think
Like
about
if
that.
you asked me about chemistry.
Or me.
Yeah.
Or both of us of math. But I can ask you about like audio engineering.
Just guess. Right.
Ions.
The numbers might work. Who knows? No one. No one ever knew.
Put these together. You both did. Right? But doesn't that make sense?
Yeah.
Right? So, okay, seeking constant approval or affirmation. Now, that also looks like codependency. There's been tons of books. Melanie Beatty over here. We have Codependent No More.
That's not her name.
Yes, it is. Melanie Beatty. You think about borderline personality disorder. All these other functions come from upriver. In the previous episode, we talked about the genogram and how everything comes from something. Nobody just wakes up and go, I have zero affirmation of myself. I don't know anything. That doesn't happen just in a bubble overnight, right? So ACOAs are constantly seeking approval
I want to read the
from
next
others.
one.
Okay.
The next one is ACOAs usually feel that they are different from other people. And the reason I wanted to read that one is I love the example that she talked about. Like
You wanted to be different?
they would watch TV shows like Leave It to Beaver. Again, this
Oh,
is
right.
a very old book. So that's like her reference of the perfect family home.
Like
I don't
50s
know.
TV shows
Yeah.
and stuff.
Like this nuclear family, the dad is off at work, the mom is cooking dinner, and the kids go play in the sandlot, right? Like it's that vibe. And kids who grew up like this in these volatile homes or imbalanced homes or homes with addiction, they think that that's real. They think the Leave It to Beaver life is real, and they're just not, they're missing it. And so what ends up happening is that they think that other people, like once they get married, they can create Leave It to Beaver, but they don't realize that it's fictional, right? And so I think,
And they don't have the tools necessary to get to that.
yeah,
Does that make sense?
yeah. Well, and they don't know that it isn't real.
Yeah.
So they think if my wife's not wearing an apron and carrying a roast when I come home from work in my station wagon, it must mean that that she's not good or I'm not good. And so then it turns into, well, why am I so bad? I feel different. I feel wrong. I feel weird. So again, it's that they feel different from other people because their baseline of normal isn't actually real.
And rightly so, because when you're coming home to, is dad going to be drunk or not drunk? Does he want to throw the baseball in the front yard or throw it at me?
Right.
Kind of thing. I remember this one wasn't as prevalent in my family, but I do remember some friends that I had, and this is super, super sad. Like this guy's house was the party house, right? Like the party house of the high school. Everybody would go over there. And the dad would party with all the high school kids. And I just remember like talking, because I was like really good friends with the partier dad's son. And this is in high school, so we like go and hang out and stay the night and stuff like that. And it was just so not normal. He was embarrassed. He's like, hey, let's don't
Your friend was embarrassed?
Yeah. Well, I mean, rightly so.
Yeah.
Dad would come home with the piss all over his pants, drunk as anyone I've ever seen, just going, hey, and just like crazy, just so embarrassing and stuff. So for a very good reason, they would feel, hey, this isn't normal.
Right.
What is a family dinner without people losing their brains? You know, what is a weekend without going to have to pick Dad up because he's somewhere?
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right. Or even having I know of families where this was the case. They were in high school and their dad was like this. And it was like the constant conversation in the family when he was gone was, where is he? Is he safe? Is he at the bar? And so you have this like normalizing of very abnormal behavior. And so then in a normal situation where you're just talking about the Seahawks, you're like, I don't know, like, what do I do?
Yeah.
Like, you just don't know. So I don't know.
It's just, it's like it's like, ever feel that tension? Say maybe you were in middle or high school or something where like everything is embarrassing, you know?
No, I was always confident. Just kidding. Yes, of course. I felt that.
Like I remember sometimes where I would be embarrassed, like if my zipper was down or something, you know, just, that was the end of the world.
Yeah,
like if you're in middle school, like
everyone saw.
Nobody saw that. You know, probably nobody did, but of course you think everybody did that it's on the world news.
Right.
It's like that. I hope no one comes to my house when Dad is drunk or mom is passed out or this or that, or you know what I'm saying? It's just that like constant, think of the brain space that takes up, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
and
that,
again, it forms a foundation that is really, really broken, but it's underneath. It's the subflooring of your home. You can hardly see it. Which
goes back to one of the earlier points, ACOAs lie when it would be just as easy to tell the truth. Lie for mom, lie for dad, make up an excuse, make up this, make up that. Oh, we can't come over because the floors are being done, but actually dad's laying on the floor passed out. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Just crazy stuff like that. So, okay. ACOAs, adult children of alcoholics, are usually either super responsible or super irresponsible. So here's a clear example of pendulum this way or pendulum that way, right? You grow up, you go, I am not going to do anything even remotely close to that. This is what my grandma played out, like ultra responsible.
Yeah.
3 jobs, I think 4 jobs at one point. Single mom, manager, taking care of all this stuff. Nothing got by her, which is crazy.
She became the Queen of England.
The Queen of England. Like nothing got by her, right? Then, okay, that's one side of the pendulum. And then the other side, I have learned nothing. I'm going to probably repeat all this stuff. Remember, more is caught than taught. Wipe it all away. Anything goes.
Right.
And that's when you see people having no jobs or a job and not a job. Bank accounts crazy. Cars up on blocks, you know, in their front yard, dirty house, dirty life, just like disarray, disorganized, super irresponsible behavior, which you and I know a lot of people like that.
Yeah.
Right?
And again, I want to say overtly and out loud and clearly, this isn't a judgment on people that are like that. Is once you read these books, you go, oh, now I could see how that can happen. Not that it should stay that way. And not that that person is inherently bad, but you go, oh, I could see the sort of pathway that led to, you know, people becoming that way into their own adult lives. Or
let me give you a really good example. So recently this year in June, I went axis deer hunting in Hawaii with Ryan Mickler. You guys go check out Ryan Mickler on Instagram, Order of Man podcast. It's awesome.
I went skydiving with Andy Frisella. It was way better than deer hunting in Maui.
I'm not saying that to anything. We were on Order of Man. Listen, we were on Order of Man. It was awesome. But anyway, here's the point. I was with another dude out there. His name's Shed Crazy. He's hilarious, by the way. If you like hunting, you're into that.
I thought that was his real name, and I was like, who names their kid Shed?
His name's Ben, but his Instagram is Shed Crazy. But, okay, we were having this conversation, and do you know what PCOS is? I think it's like a thyroid condition. Mainly.
I cannot believe I can't remember it. Yeah.
So it's something, right? And I think it has to do with hormones and the thyroid and pelvic stuff.
It's polycystic ovarian syndrome.
Okay. It's something, right? But we were having a conversation and I was sharing my story, how, you know, punch in the face and all this stuff. Here's what we're doing. And we were talking about, me and my wife almost, boom, gone, you know, until they discovered PCOS, right? They got the correct treatment. They did all this stuff. life-changing, right? So what I'm saying that is, we're not saying any of this in judgment. We're saying this because, first of all, we give real help for real couples. I will always share something that has impacted my life, my growth, my marriage, my individuality. And this is one of the things. So there's no judgment here. We're just talking about real facts. And it is like discovering something like PCOS, like, my life sucks. Everything's crazy. I hate you. Blah. Go to the doctor, get a diagnosis, get the proper treatment, eyes open, world changes, and you go, oh, now how you can be a little bit upset of like, yeah, you kind of put me through hell and all that. That sucked. And still like, man, that wasn't you talking.
Yeah.
That was the thing talking, wasn't it? Yeah. Man, that sucked. I'm so glad that you're better. And we shed light on it, right? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, well, it's like, it reminds me too of like, it's similar to having mold in your house. Like people have all these terrible problems and they go to the doctor forever and never. And then they discover, oh, there's like mold in everything in my house.
Right.
What's the process of fixing that? Number one, you either move, or number two, you tear everything out.
You get remediation.
Mold off. You get a can of mold off. Mold away.
Mold away. Yes. Mulvaney.
What?
I don't know. Okay. Different from other people. ACOAs. We have 3 more here, guys. ACOAs are, we have 2 more, actually. We just went over super responsible or super irresponsible, both sides of the pendulum there. ACOAs are extremely loyal, even in the face of evidence that the loyalty is underdeserved. Right? Undeserved.
Undeserved, yeah.
So think about it this way. I have so many clients, and the folks that I work with mainly, I mean, I think drug and alcohol is everywhere. It has touched families, every single family from top to bottom. It does not matter, right? There's so many families that I have worked with and talked to that alcohol is a huge prevalent part of either their lives, their moms, their grandpas, their aunties, their whoever, or the community for that matter. And there are so many people in relationships that stick in relationships no matter what, right? They are loyal to the death almost because they saw that from their family of origin, right? They're like, okay, yeah, my mom is drunk, but she is my mom, and I love her. I want that deep connection with her. I want that relationship. I don't think I'll ever get it, but I'm never going to let go of hope and hold off because I can't live with myself if I just threw my mom, my dad, my brother, my whoever to the wolves, because this is so messed up, and it happens all the time, and we've had to deal with it a lot. It's like, oh, what do healthy boundaries look like? If I just say, hey man, I love you, I've done all you can do, hopefully you go and get the treatment and all the stuff that you need. That's the best case scenario. Right. But this also happens. I love you, thank you, all this stuff. I've done everything that I know to do. I can't endorse this anymore. And tragedy happens. Yeah. You see what I'm saying? And then you have to live with yourself over that. So think about this. ACOAs are extremely loyal, even in the face of evidence. I know they're going to crap on me. I know they're going to let me down. I know that they're going to blow my money. I know they're going to crash my car. I know that they're going to call me an effer when I stayed up to way past midnight trying to help them and pick them out of a ditch. I know they're going to do that. Yeah. But I'm going to still be loyal even in the face of all that. I can't not. Yeah. Right? Because you have learned. Yeah. You have learned that.
Yeah. It makes me think that a lot of people in these homes who grew up this way, they knew in their mind, love was, let's say the dad was alcoholic and the mom was just holding everything together. And in their mind, they're seeing this example of, oh, well, love is covering up for dad with the insurance claim because he totaled the truck. That's love. And love is begging him to come home when he's, before he gets so drunk that he'll crash again. Right. And love is showing up even though he, whatever, like spent all of our money, whatever the thing is that happened. Love is actually nothing like what real love looks like. It's not what healthy love looks like. And so in all of this, I keep going back to this thought of like, if you don't have a good idea of what love looks like and all you know is what chaos looks like, you will think that chaos is love. And you grow, and many, many, many people
It's like that post from Cody Jefferson this morning.
Oh yeah, it was so good. But they, well, are you going to share what the post was? You just want our listeners to
I was hoping
think
you could
that
recall
they
it.
know. I'm not going to find it. What do you say?
It was
Basically
talking
talks
about,
about
like,
that idea. If you
love
think,
and chaos, and
like if you think
peace.
that chaos, if you grew up in chaos, you'll think that that's normal and you'll gravitate to it. But all that to say that if that's what you think is normal, then you fighting with your spouse every single day and whatever, you're like, well, that's what love is. When in reality, it's not. Love is like teamwork,
right,
and kindness and reciprocal kindness. Like,
but that's what I saw, so that's what I think it is.
Right. Yeah. So I just wanted to say that like explicitly.
Yeah. Okay. So that's really good. I like that observation. Okay. Lastly, adult children of alcoholics are impulsive, right? And it can be impulsive emotionally, physically, financially, emotionally. All kinds of stuff, right? So think about, relationally, career-wise, just anything like impulsive. Hey, let's do this. I'm thinking of it. This is the most important thing ever. Go for it without thinking of long-term consequences. And I'm not talking about like 5 years from now. Like I'm talking maybe a week from now kind of thing, doing that, going somewhere, driving while drunk.
Or like even, a relationship with a kid. Like, oh yeah, I said I'd take him to the park. Oh, well, I just didn't feel like it later. So I just didn't go. So, the next week your kid's going to be mad at you and you can't figure it out.
Yeah. And then unfortunately in ACOAs, then the kid would get in trouble for being mad.
Yeah.
Right. They would get in trouble for showing emotion on hurt feelings or a broken promise or something like that, which is really, really difficult. So that one goes. So lastly, ACOAs are impulsive. That, in my opinion, is very close to, where is it? Following projects through from beginning to end. I think those are included are related because it's like, mom was a good time buddy when she was feeling this way, and then was a not so good time buddy later. So I saw that impulsivity. Or, hey, when she was a good time buddy, we did some fun stuff.
Right.
It was cool. Like, I don't know. We did things and spent money that we normally wouldn't do.
Right.
Because mom was in a super happy, good mood kind of thing, right? And if you see that, then that impulsivity may go into other parts of your life. Start this project because you want to. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, hey, we need I can think of stuff around here that actually we both done. Like, hey, let's start a dog fence. And then it sits there forever because we're busy or something. I'm not calling you out on that. Or with me, hey, let's put up a deer stand. And then it sits there in the rain for, a long time. It's like impulse. It's like, hey, so if that is you, think about what would this look like? This is a good practice. And we both sometimes do it. What does this look like 1 week, 1 month, 6 months, 1 year from now? I was thinking about that today in going back to that Google Nest thing that you got, which is like, you wouldn't believe how much is just like, open my eyes on stuff. Simply seeing pictures of the life that we've built together. It's amazing. So real thank you for that. I really appreciate it.
This podcast is brought to you by
Google Nest. That was a bird. Thinking about long-term implications, okay? When we start this project, when we do this thing, when we put this money away, or when we spend this money or say yes to this thing or say no to that thing, what does that mean for Hattie? What does it mean for me? What does it mean for you? What does it mean for, a lot of stuff, right? So really getting a handle on all of that stuff. So that was the last tenet of the book, Adult Children of Alcoholics. And you guys, we have only scratched the surface. This is one book. One book of hundreds of books out there. Did you know they also have an international federation of ACOAs? And they have like meetups and all kinds of stuff. I looked up, I'm like, I need to go to a conference there.
Cool. They have she has another book, The Struggle for Intimacy.
Oh yeah, she has a bunch of books and old YouTube talks. Sadly, she has passed, but she left a lot of amazing work.
Yeah, and one thing I want to say before we wrap up this episode, and again, concluding with the other episode too before, is that a way to start healing this is to start, I think, casting a vision of health. So again, this is like having the foundation of your home have some really big flaw or dangerous thing, or like mold in your house or something.
Mm-hmm.
It's very hard to detect. It's hard to figure out where is that what's really causing the problem? Is it something else? But if you can cast a vision of what a healthy relationship looks like, what healthy communication looks like, what peace looks like, what calm looks like, what, I mean, if you take any of her points, like, what does it look like to not take yourself so seriously, right? What does it look like, instead of having difficulty having fun, what would it look like to have fun really well and really balanced and really centered, right? What would it look like to not feel like you're responsible for the weight of the world, but also not just throw all your responsibilities out the window, right? So it's finding that center, that sort of really balanced place where you're taking your past, what you grew up with, the kind of the stuff you inherited in your family from addiction, from all of those things, and you're saying, I want to make something different. I know I have the same foundation that I had, but I can fix it and I can change it and I can shape it to what I want it to be.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And some parting words. You may be learning about this for the first time. Do not go to your parents or your grandparents and go, see, this stuff. Or, if they're past, maybe you don't even have that chance. But don't externalize your anger towards them. Let this stuff be a stepping block, a stepping stone to your healing, right? You can't change the past. You can't change that your mom had a crappy upbringing and she dealt with it using alcohol and you have a lot of issues now. You can't change any of that, you guys. How can you change it?
Yeah.
By reading this, meditating on it, praying, asking for healing. You can only change it for
yourself. Yeah.
You can only ask for healing, right? You're not going to get mad at the restaurant that you went to for 5 years in a row and ordered, poutine every single time. And now you're, 100 pounds overweight. You're not going to get mad at the restaurant. Go, oh, wait a minute. I realize all the stuff I've done. I've got some work to do.
Right.
Am I willing to do the work? Hopefully, yes. So use this as a tool.
And I want to say one more thing about it too, in that line of thinking. And I've worked with clients directly about this exact thing. They'll learn something new, and then they'll want to go tell their parents how mad they are at them for what blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, listen, your parents are humans. Number one, they have gone through traumas that they will never share with you because it's not your job to know all the traumas your parents have gone through. So there might be what feels like a kind of legit reason that your parents are alcoholics or were not that doesn't, you hear what I'm saying here, right? It's not a good reason to be an alcoholic, but some people have had really, really, really terrible experiences. And for you to come and put salt and then stab that wound again is not going to be helpful. I want you to act like a grown-up in this situation, not like a child, because you're not a child anymore. If you're listening to this podcast, you're an adult, and you're going to act like an adult when you learn new information about your parents, right? So there's a quote, and it says something like, children blame their parents, adults, something like, when you're a child, you blame your parents. When you become an adult, you understand your parents. And then when you become wise, you feel for your parents. Like it's this transition of just being like an a-hole, like, well, you ruined me because you were were an addict, blah. Like whatever, they did what they did. Be an adult about how you respond, and you don't need to throw it back onto them because it's not their healing journey you're after, it's yours.
It's yours. And yes, well said. And like we said in episode 1 of this, a healthy marriage consists of 2 healthy people, right? So if your spouse struggles with this stuff, be a good spouse, try to understand it, read the book, get more resources, do some learning for yourself so you can support them. Support their healing, not their continued bad behavior, right? And if you're listening to this, let this be a stepping stone. Read it twice. I listened to it on Audible twice, and then I was like, I need to get the book so I can underline a bunch of stuff in it, right? So you guys, I hope this is helpful. If you have any questions at all, email us hello@anatomyofus.com.
And if you want to walk through this journey with us, do coaching with us, and we will help you process this in your own life and create a new healthy foundation for your marriage. Just go to anatomyofus.com and sign up for coaching. So
good job, Mel. Thank you guys so much. Again, any questions, anything, DM us on Instagram, Anatomy of Us Pod, and hello@anatomyofus.com. Peace out, guys.
Bye.
Love you. Bye.